Well, hello everyone and welcome to Momentum channel. My name is Mo, and in this video, we're going to be talking about 3 high quality undervalued bank stocks that are currently trading at or near their 52-week low price. They're also showing excellent signs of potential upside of double digits, anywhere between that 12% to even close to that 30% upside within a year time frame. In this video, we're going to be taking a closer look at those 3 bank stocks and analyze them from financial perspective and what their upside potential is. All right, the very first bank stock for us to review is the Bank of Montreal, available with ticker symbol BMO. Even though it's a Canadian bank stock available on Toronto Stock Exchange, it is also available on New York Stock Exchange for investors outside of Canada. Currently, the Bank of Montreal at the time of making the video was last traded at the price of $116.01 in Canadian dollars. It was up slightly by a fraction of a point in the last trading day. But however, if you look at the past 3 months return for it, the stock is showing to be down by close to 5.5%, and the actually past 1 month is down by almost 11+%. The 52-week price range for the stock in Canadian dollars, the lowest range is $113.47. So at this time, the stock was actually hovered close to that price. In fact, in the last trading day, it hit that low price that we are seeing here. That being said, analysts covering the stock are quite bullish about it. In fact, 15 analysts covering the stock. 2 of them have a strong buy, 9 of them have a buy rating, and 3 of them have a hold rating. There's only 1 that has a strong sell. All in all, giving the stock a buy. Based on the analyst price target, the stock target price would be $142.12 over the next 12 months. Looking at the price to earnings ratio trailing 12 months for Bank of Montreal, it's showing a ratio of 7.29. And if you compare that to that of their own history over time, as an example, their price to earnings ratio 3-year average is at 9.46 multiple. At this time, they are at like a more favorable position compared to that 3-year average. In 2022, though, during that year, they had a multiple of 6.28. And if we compare that to the entire banking 1-year average, we are seeing that the price to earnings ratio for the top 50 stocks by market cap per industry for banking is at 18.84. So they are a lot more favorable in that regard. You also see things such as the book value multiple, which in 2022 was at 106.71 multiple, and the 3-year average for them was at 94.5. Definitely a lot higher compared to that of the banking sector, which might be less desirable in that sense. But at the same time, Bank of Montreal has proven a track record of continuing to grow their earnings over time. You do see the yellow line is actually showing how rapidly they've been managing to increase their earnings compared to that of the overall the banking industry. Same goes for their revenue over the past several years. You do see how they have continuously grown year over year their revenue. Particularly in 2022, they grew it by close to 45%. 2019 was 1 year that they had their revenue decline by just a fraction of a point. In terms of the big investors for the Bank of Montreal, from a mutual fund ownership, you're looking at Vanguard Total International Stock Index Fund, RBC Canadian Dividend Fund, and Statens Pence Jones Fund Outland. And if you look at the institutional owners, the majority of them are from the top of the list. We have RBC Wealth Management International, Vanguard Group, and RBC Global Assets Management. Also want to point out that if you look at the last trading day for the Bank of Montreal, and in fact, the prices since around that early March, they have definitely fallen below their 200 moving average and 50-day moving average. Given the decline in the price of Bank of Montreal, currently their forward dividend yield is at 4.93%, making it a possibly very intriguing position for investors who want to either build a position in Bank of Montreal or perhaps take advantage of dollar cost averaging and add to their existing shares of BMO. We're going to move on and take a look at our second banking stock pick. And this is no other than Toronto Dominion Bank, another Canadian bank available with ticker symbol TD, but also available in US dollar stock through New York Stock Exchange with the similar ticker of TD. It was last traded at the price of $77.62 Canadian, and up by about 0.5% there. And in looking at the past 3 months, the shares of TD were down by close to 12%, and in the past 1 month, even more, down by close to 15%. All of them have resulted in fact, the shares of TD hovering and in fact reaching its 52-week low at the last trading day, which was at $76.40. That's when the stock kind of broke its 52-week low level and recorded a new 52-week low. Analysts are still continuing to stay very positive about shares of Toronto Dominion Bank. In fact, there are 16 analysts covering the stock, with 4 of them having a strong buy, 7 of them having a buy, 4 of them have a hold, and only 1 having a sell, giving the stock an overall buy rating. And if you look at their overall expected price targets based on 16 analysts, this same 16 analysts covering the stock, we are seeing $99.85 Canadian over the next 1 year, giving the stock quite a decent upside potential. The price to earnings ratio trailing 12 months for TD is at 9.36 multiple. And if you look at how this multiple has been over the years, as an example, for the 3-year average for TD, they were at the 10 multiple. And in the 2022 year, their price to earnings multiple was at 9.21. And definitely they are a lot more favorable compared to the banking 1-year average. Looking at their earnings and revenue change, you notice how the earnings for TD has, dramatically increased over the years, and similarly how they've performed from a revenue perspective. For that, we're going to take a closer look at it. If you look at it since 2015, how their revenue year-over-year growth has been consistently positive. 2021 was the year that they had a negative growth in their revenue, down by about 2%. But other than that, year after year, they have done remarkably, and they managed to actually increase their revenue. On top of that, they've actually been able to drastically as well increase their net profit. Particularly 2022 and 2021 were 2 wonderful years for them. Managed to increase it around that 20 to 21% in those years. In terms of the investors and institutional ownership for this stock, if you're looking at the Vanguard Group, RBC Wealth Management International, and RBC Dominion Security as the top 3 institutional owners of shares of the TD Bank stock. Again, wanted to bring to your attention that if you look at the past month kind of chart, around early March, that's when the shares of TD kind of broke the line and went below the 52-day moving average as well as 200-day moving average, which kind of translates to that negative sentiment around the shares of the stock. However, the sentiments are starting to change for the shares, and it could be a potential opportunity for investors who wanted to take advantage of these lower prices for the stocks. TD is going to be announcing its next earnings on May 25th of 2023, and you notice how they have been able to over the past several quarterly earnings surpassed estimates around their earnings per share. And if you look at their revenue, in fact, in the past several earnings as well, they've managed to surpass their revenue estimates when it came to their reports on a quarterly basis. Lastly, our third and final pick to review is Royal Bank of Canada. It was last traded at the price of $126.81, available on Toronto Stock Exchange with ticker symbol RY. Similarly available on New York Stock Exchange with ticker RY for those investors outside of Canada. If you look at the price for the past 3 months, the shares were down by only 1%. However, the past 1 month, they are down by close to 7.6%. And you'd notice how during, again, those early month of March, the shares started to move past the 50 actually moving average. But then later on, around mid-March, that's when they fell below the 50-day moving average. And later on, towards the end of the March, that's when they fell below their 200-day moving average. For RBC, currently has a price to earnings ratio trading 12 months of 12. And if you compare that to that of their historical records, as an example, their price to earnings ratio 3-year average is at 11.65 multiple. And their 2022, during that year, their price to earnings ratio multiple was at 11.40. You'd also notice how RBC has managed to increase its earnings over the years. And when it comes to revenue, we're going to take a closer look at the financials. Aside from 2022, that their revenue year over year declined by about 1.5% the prior year since 2015, and they managed to increase their revenue year over year. Somewhat similar story when it comes to their net profit, with the exception of 2022 and 2020, whereby their net profit actually declined year over year. Particularly in 2020, their net profit declined by double digits, but the year after, they managed to increase it by over 40%. In terms of the top investors, institutional investors who have ownership of shares of RBC, we're looking at the Vanguard Group, RBC Global Asset Management, and RBC Dominion Securities. Lastly, if you look at the sentiment for the shares of Royal Bank, it's hovering a little bit closer to that bullish sentiment, and investors might be of interest to the forward dividend yield that currently RBC is offering at 4.16%, quite a decent dividend yield for banking stocks, and that has been paying its dividend for many years, has a long history of paying their dividends, even during the recession years of 2008 and for the financial crisis that we had at that time. These are all the banks all the three banks that we talked about managed to continue to pay their dividends during those years, and been very consistent with their passive income options that we provide for dividend investors. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this video until the end. I hope you found it beneficial and you gained something of value from it. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. Here on Momentum Finance, we post every week videos about investing, finances, and financial freedom. Thank you, and I hope to see you all next time.